for the grand price of $0, because I've volunteered all my time. And so at the moment I have 3 sites I've developed and designed. Those are the names. And so I figured I'd start off by finding out more about my audience. Raise your hand if you've adopted from a rescue, if you're thinking of adopting a pet, if you've donated to a rescue, or if you volunteer with a rescue or anything like that. I've been a dog owner since 1987, and I'm on my 3rd dog from a rescue. I figure my sites have helped me to help the organizations I work with to rescue over 500 dogs at this point in the last 5 years. So I'm pretty happy about that. So the sites, they show dogs and they get donations, they get volunteers. And when you think about people who are coming to a rescue site, they're coming to the site to, see the pets that are available, to find out the adoption process. Like you gotta get a home visit, you gotta fill out the adoption form, you gotta get your references checked, things like that. But if you want to donate, because if you've adopted a dog in the past, or if you want to donate because you can't have a dog right now, but you'd like to help out the cause, you tend to wonder how will your money be used, and what should I give, what's a good amount to give, things like that. If you want to volunteer, again, you want to know about the process, what types of volunteers they're looking for, like people to take pictures, people to be forsters, people to come to adoption events and just hold the animals. And where can you do it? Is it local to your house and so forth, things like that. Why is this pausing on me? That's weird. I don't know. We'll go to the backup. Oh, wait, there we go. Nah, I guess we'll go to backup. Right, the goals for the sites are always to get the donations, find adopters, find volunteers. So when I started doing this 5 years ago, the question for me, I sort of had firsthand experience on adopting from a rescue, but it was also, I looked for guidelines on what would be good to do for a donation website or nonprofit website. I came across this report from the Nielsen Norman Group, Donation Usability. And this is the first edition I have here. And 5 years ago, it was $99. Now he's at the 2nd edition, which is at like $199. But he also went from 58 guidelines to like 116, I believe. And these were the different areas in which he had the different categories, and these were the number of guidelines in each area. And you can see the biggest thing was on the donation process. You want to be careful about, what information you're collecting, confirm that you've got the credit card and so forth, things like that. But like with the homepage, it's things like, tell them what you're doing, tell them how you use the money, things like that. Things about the charity as far as, again, what it does, how they use money, the leadership of it also, who's on the board of directors, who's the president, things like that. When you're having events, If it's some type of national site like the American Red Cross, you want to send them to the local chapters and so forth. And of course have social media. So this page shows like the number of guidelines that I used from each category. So I used about half of them, a little bit less than half of them. But also, I came up with a few others. That is, I felt the sites should be accessible as far as Section 508 compliance, so that anyone who's disabled could adopt an animal or donate, or as well. I also felt it should be responsive. You can see one of my sites is running on the iPad. So it works on phones, it works on laptops, desktops, and so forth. I also have that people can put in their email address. So anytime a new animal gets put into the rescue, they get an email that says, new dog at this rescue. And then they can also sponsor an animal. And when they sponsor an animal, they get their name and their address put up next to the animal as well. So yeah, I thought those were some extra guidelines. And so these are the 3 rescues and their different missions. So I'll give you I really don't know what happened there. But you can see, so this is one called Promises, and they're local in Gainesville. You can see like social media things down there. Instantly, you also get that you can donate. And since that bar just changes, give it a second. So, there we go. So yeah, so the donate stays on every page. You can sponsor a dog. You can go to more pics in a bio. When I was designing this, I kind of felt it should kind of be like a, if you will, a dating site almost. You want to see the picture, but you also want to know, will the dog be good with my kids? Will it be good with my cat? Will it be good with other dogs? Is it microchipped? Is it spayed? Things like that. So I figured you might want to see, just brief details, and then like these pictures. Whoops, come on. I don't know why it's doing that. They should just. I guess there's something weird going on tonight. But yeah, so I did a little animation, like the dog's happy that you're finding out more about it. I mean, a lot of this, I was just coming across different technology, and I, would apply it as, God, why is it so slow today? Should come up in a second. Jim, is something weird going on with the internet tonight? I'm taking forever to get to. The internet's being extremely slow. I don't know why. I mean, maybe if I kill this page, because this page seemed to time out. Huh.
If it doesn't speed up, you can try reconnecting.
Uh-huh. Let's see. Huh. Huh. Okay. Huh. Now I'm off the internet, I guess.
Sorry about the first.
Oh, wait.
Bear with us 1 second. Wait,
Let's
you
see.
got it?
Maybe we're back.
All right.
Well, it's still being slow, but anyway, let's see if I can get to Dave. Anyway, so there's Dave. And you can see that Dave's actually sponsored. And if you get sponsored, right, so you get the logo next there, next to the name, and just the name and the address. Yeah, I left off the street and so forth. I figured that'd be kind of personal. But yeah, so you have all the statistics again, and now you have a bio on the dog. And then there's also the ability to, so the mission was on the home page. You could also sign up with a volunteer form to volunteer. You could see the various events. Things like, let's see, we still seem to be having slowness issues. But I'll come back to that page. Maybe it'll load. So yeah, so there you have a couple of events that they're doing. And you could link to the website of the location, things like that. So and so another thing I thought was important to have with the sites, since everybody's mobile these days, was of course to use Bootstrap so that it would be responsive on the phone, but it could also work on a desktop and a laptop and so forth. It's like there's certain things I did to optimize it for the different platforms, like if and when that comes back up. So like on a phone, it'll only show one picture in the all available animals, but on a laptop, it'll show two. So like if we actually were to cut this down, you'd see that it would just go to one picture. There wouldn't be two like there were in this display. So I mean, yeah, I think it's really important for the user experience to do whatever you can to optimize the download time on the various platforms that they might be showing it on. And I mean, so the great thing about doing this work was that there were some things that I knew, there were some technologies that I knew, and there were some technologies that I kind of forced myself to learn to put this stuff together. And you can see it's a pretty long list. And I'm still learning a lot of these things to get better with them. But I mean, especially Angular. Angular, I just started the conversion a little over a year ago. You know, it was one of the things that helped me to get my new job, just to say that I know it and I could show websites where it's being applied and so forth. So I really didn't mind, you know, learning this stuff. The data tables is really nice because I'll show you that the administrative side shortly, but a real nice thing about data tables is you can add buttons to the point that it'll allow the tables to be printed and exported into Excel and all those different types of things. Plus, you could sort it by anything by clicking on the header, and you can do a find real quickly. So that's a really powerful tool that I use at a lot of my jobs. Let's see. So, like, as I was saying earlier, on all the sites, you can put in your email address. And then when an administrator enters a new dog, you get this email that just says, you know, there's a new dog, here's its age, its sex, its tag, and you could click on it, this link to view the dog. And you could also go back there and unsubscribe if, you know, if you're tired of getting these emails, of course. But yeah, so you know, that's a real nice feature. It instantly gets you know, the news of a new dog out. So if you're looking for a dog, you know, it minimizes the time that the rescue has the animal, and it keeps the audience engaged, and that, you know, the rescue is getting in new dogs and so forth. There's also things like a forster application, a volunteer application, an adoption application, and all those you'll see they're all like they're all 508 compliant. They're all I do things like color coding them to do the required fields. And come on. Oh, come on. I assure you this is not my sites. I don't know. I did that once, but do it again. Yeah, it didn't help. So, I mean, that's just trying to go to Google right now.
There's no way for me to restart the router. Maybe just drive off your slides.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be easiest.
Yeah, I'm getting no internet to even. So, well, I was hoping to go on to the administrative side. I don't know, we'll give it one more shot. Let's see. There we go. So with each one of these sites, I also developed a content management system, so that I could, basically set up the front end look and feel, but that I could have everybody else be responsible to do the administration of their site, so that I wasn't the one, loading up new dogs, reviewing applications and so forth, that I could, spread myself to other rescues that could use a good looking website. I don't know if this will come up or not. Not.
Yeah, if the internet's just crapping out,
Yeah.
you may just want to drive off the side.
Okay.
I'd reset the router if I could.
So the administrative sites, even though we can't get to them, but they do allow things like, for you to create, review, update, and delete of the animals, along with events, the blog site, the state reports that the rescues have to give to the state as far as the number of animals they took in, the number of animals that went out, the number of animals that, maybe died in the facility, things like that. But the administrators find the data table view really helpful in that, like I said, they can sort, they can export it to Excel, things like that. They could print it out. So there's lots of different things, and we're still out of it. Oh well. Oh, there it is. So yeah, this is inside the administrative of one of the sites. And you could see things like if we went to the dogs, if it'll come up, it would show you all the dogs. And then you could do some sorting and so forth. But there's other things like this is all role based. So like if the rescue wanted to appoint someone to manage events, they would only see this link. If they wanted to appoint somebody to manage the blog, they'd only see this link. If they wanted to appoint someone to manage applications, they would see those links. So I made it role based, that they could that they only have to see the links for the jobs that they manage. And I guess that's trying to come up. Well, anyway. So yeah, this so these are all the different roles that are there, along with like the state reports and things like that. And and then finally, I hope to continue taking this to other rescues. I mean, I've run across some other volunteers in different parts of the US that are doing like WordPress sites, and they have maybe 10 rescues or whatever. So I've run across some other people who I've been interested in helping and who would help me. But we're just kind of a loose group of volunteers who work on the sites. But if you want to help me, I need people to do design, development, testing, and just check if it never came up. Oh well. anyway, so I'll take any questions if anybody has them. I'll also say that like being offered tonight on when you're doing everything for free, you do beg, borrow, and steal anything you get. So like on World Usability Day, I did submit my Grand Bahama site to Key Lime, and they did a review for me. And so I've applied some of their guidelines, but in general, I think since I was going from Nielsen's Norman's guidelines, they didn't find a whole lot as far as usability. So.
Did you test with actual people that are trying to use the site? Did you try to people that are potentially adopting pets or?
Yes, I did. I mean, I was, as I said, I was also, I adopted my last shepherd, let's see, 4 years ago. So, to a certain extent, I was sort of eating my own dog food, if you will. That I was also a user going to the site, but I'd go to adoption days. I'd talk to people, how the website's working. It was great at all the adoption days, because sometimes not every dog in the rescue makes it to an adoption day. So, to pull it up on our phones and say, well, here are the other dogs in the rescue, and here's the adoption process, here's the adoption application, things like that. It was, the idea of having a mobile site worked out really well, just because, you can't see the dog all the time. Because most of these dogs are in foster homes, so, yeah. Any other questions? Sure.
Is there anything about volunteers choose your design active otherwise be normally involved in something like this?
Well, like I made sure to show all the different ways they could help. You could take pictures of a dog, you could do grant writing, you could foster a dog, things like that. I made sure to, put in all the different ways you can help, so, you don't have to bring home a dog and, work to find it a good home. There's lots of different ways to help. I want to make sure that, they knew any way they could help.
Are you tracking how many people go to the site?
Yeah, I am. So within every site, I did put Google Analytics, and I do go to the Google Analytics every now and then, and check the search terms, check which pages get the most activity. It's usually, the past usually tends to be the home page, then all available animals, and then single animals from there. The events get some activity, but right, the all available page gets the highest amount of activity, of course. Sure.
Curious, what do you typically do with that?
The analytics. I guess, I do occasionally change the meta words on the HTML pages once I see the search terms. I do, I don't know, I guess I look at some of the different browsers that are being used and the different operating systems and try to test it in those to make sure everything's working in each different browser, and I've like stopped going to. I've stopped supporting like IE8 and so forth. I figure I'm not supposed to be like the rest of the world. But 5 years ago, that was an important feature. So, and
How much time do you devote to doing this?
well, so I mean, this is really the third generation of my sites. The first generation, I used a tool called Sentra Touch, and it was only for mobile platforms. And I actually checked on if you were coming from a mobile device, and I rerouted you to another site. And then the second generation was just non-responsive HTML5 and CSS3. And then the third was what you saw tonight, as far as the responsive and the Angular and so forth. And so I can get a site up usually in about a month, as far as creating the tables, creating the users, setting up a new theme as far as the colors and so forth. But there's a lot. I might add in a new feature every now and then, like I probably 6 months old is the sponsoring of an animal, and putting that onto the page. So I mean, the first iteration of this third generation was probably several hundred hours. I don't really keep track. But yeah, I mean, I can get new things up. And the only problem right now is that, like, if I find a bug, then I have to immediately check if it's in the other two sites. And if I, think of a really nice feature, I have to, again, put it in the other two sites and so forth. And so I'd like, if I was smart enough with it, I'd sort of do this as some type of SaaS environment where, when you logged in, you'd also say your domain, and it would just be one set of tables, and it would have on there the rescue that the dog's at and so forth, and it would just deliver a different theme. But I haven't managed to pull that off yet.
Any more questions?
One more question.
How much does mobile affect you? I'm a developer, not a designer. Sorry, guys. How much does mobile? I mean, you clearly pay attention to mobile. How much impact does that have on what you do from a development standpoint, in terms of looking at how you manage that UX?
It does greatly. I mean, because like looking at the analytics, I have seen that typically about half the traffic is coming from mobile devices. It's probably a lot of it's probably iPads, which gives you as much room as a laptop. But like I said, for the adoption days, just to show people that there are other dogs in the rescue, but they didn't make it today because the people fostering them had something else to do or whatever. So I mean, I really consider the mobile user experience vital. And like I showed you, it only does one picture if you're on a mobile device, so it's it's trying to be a fast experience as it can. But yeah, I mean, it's another thing that I check with the analytics, pretty much monthly, just to see what the division is between mobile and desktop. Um, and but I guess we never got back to site. Anyway.
I'll be great IT. I have one last question. So for a lot of us who support and work with, contribute to, and care a lot about nonprofit organizations, it's kind of a labor of love sometimes. So my last question for you was: is there a particular success story or anecdote as you've worked with these sites or these organizations that like really stayed with you as you've done this work?
Well, I mean, like one of the features I guess I'm the most proud of is probably that sponsor thing. Just that, you know, it's absolutely vital to places like the Humane Society of the Grand Bahama, just because they're probably taking in about 1,000 animals a year. And some of them they can export to the US and they can get another 10%, 10 to 15% adopted, but they end up, you know, unfortunately probably euthanizing, you know, like 60% of their animals on a yearly basis just because of space and monetary constraints and so forth. And to have, you know, people who've adopted dogs from Canada and the US and other areas to, you know, provide sponsorship for a dog and do like a $30 reoccurring contribution on their credit card, you know, it's probably, you know, kept that place in existence at this point.
Actually, I have a follow-up question. So I don't think it's very common for most people to realize the whole like euthanizing for the rescued animals. Have you ever tried doing any experiments to see if you can use that to change people's experience with the website?
I really haven't. I mean, like next month I'm going out to do a bicycle ride for the Briggs Animal Adoption Center in West Virginia. And it's pretty interesting on that ride because they do like a Burma shave thing. And they'll say, you know, save a life, adopt an animal, you know, spay and neuter your animals on another sign and so forth. And you know, it's been pretty clear to me that probably on a yearly basis in the shelters across the US, we end up euthanizing about 6 million animals a year. And it really boils down to that we wouldn't have to euthanize that many if people would spay and neuter them, if people would, you know, make sure that everyone's prepared to bring a dog or a cat into their house, and you know, they don't think of it as like a Christmas present, and you know, New Year's comes and they decide that they, you know, it's not a new thing anymore, and you know, let's just, you know, throw it away at the Humane Society or the shelter and things like that. You know, I mean, I guess I could sensationalize, you know, a little on the, you know, all the euthanasia that is happening, but I guess it's not a pleasant thing to think about. So I've kind of avoided it at the moment. But yeah, so we finally got some connectivity, and you could see like it comes up by the name, but you could do any type of sorting. It doesn't look like it's there at the moment. Yeah, it's not fully there yet. But you could do sorting. If it would have connected to the CDN, you'd get buttons to print this out, to export it to Excel, things like that. But anyway,
Any last questions?
Did you see an increase in adoptions because of the usability of the website, or were there any metrics that you can talk about with that?
So, I mean, the two sites that I've done locally, they were rescues who just started up. So they, from day one, they had my websites. So I can't say that I've improved their adoption statistics. I mean, I do know that, right, it gets used at the adoption days. I do daily see that adoption applications come in, volunteer applications come in, foster applications come in. Because like a lot of rescues, they want to charge you like $12 for a processing fee. And I've just kind of always felt, hey, let everybody apply. Don't charge that $12. Even though I guess it's a little bit of a revenue stream, but just that people would have to put in their credit card, and they're not sure if they trust your site and so forth, things like that. So yeah, I just made all of them being free, and I mean, Promises, the local one in Gainesville, I'd say they get at least adoption application daily. And then of course, the great thing about it, adopters, is maybe eventually they'll turn into volunteers and forsters, and they'll probably fail fostering and they'll keep the dog a second time or whatever. But so those, I've seen those things, and I always see the mail that comes out about a new dog being added, and so I always kind of smile when I see that happening, knowing that they're picking up another dog and saving it from being euthanized and so forth.
All right. Big thank you, Bruce. Thanks for sharing with us tonight. I apologize.